All right. The first few days of the NCAA tournament, the parts that count Thursday through Sunday, are over. Not to say the first four doesn't count per se, but I could go either way. Yeah, so we got that. We got down to 16. So from 64 to 16 in 4 days, obviously, as it typically is. If you're unfamiliar with the tournament, you shouldn't be listening to this. But all right, where do I start? Let's see. So we got the top headlines from the first and second rounds. I just kind of spitballing. I wrote some stuff down. I think the top headline is probably the fact that 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue in the first round on Friday night in a game where I guess speed mattered more than size.
Yeah, or it proved that the Big Ten sucks. The Big Ten game plan does not carry over well into March.
There wasn't the reverse effect potential that I thought we would see with the Big Ten, where the conference this season we knew was not very good. And then some of the teams turned it up in March, and only one team did that. And it's completely unsurprising to, geniuses like myself in terms of who that team was.
Yeah.
Being Michigan State.
Team that doesn't have a dominant big. So, or a big that they use mainly. Fairleigh Dickinson had a game plan. Their coach instilled hope, I think, the most in his team that they could beat them. Purdue wanted to act like they use it as bulletin board material, and then they punched their bulletin board. So
there's other Big Ten teams that don't run their offense through bigs that had success. Penn State.
Yeah.
And Illinois doesn't run their offense through a big, and they lost, but that's just because they're not good.
Yeah, that's because they match up with Arkansas too. So
the Illinois is also not good. I think Illinois probably loses to every 8 seed.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah, Fairleigh Dickinson had a good game plan. They pressured the freshman guards. They fronted Edie, and then they had somebody on the backside the whole time, and they said, "Go ahead and beat us from 3." And Purdue failed miserably at shooting 3 that game. I think they were 5 of 26 or something.
Yeah, I think Lawyer made 3 himself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Smith was bad. Gillis was afraid to shoot.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? I think enough people have talked about that game, so we can just move on.
Sure.
15 seed Princeton took down 2 seed Arizona, my national champion. Brilliant pick there. and they also beat Missouri on Saturday. So Princeton getting their first trip to the Sweet 16 since the 90s, I believe. I didn't do my exact statting on this because I was more so focused on the fact that the South region is either going to have a first-time Final Four team or a Princeton team or a Princeton school that went to the Final Four in 1965.
Yeah.
So, I think Princeton, didn't they get to the Sweet 16 in like the late 90s? I think that happened.
I want to say everybody said that this was probably the weakest of the regions, and it kind of shows 1-5, 6-15 make it to the Sweet 16 out of it. So
the 4 seed was bad. Virginia was not good. So that's number one. Number two, I would say Arizona just couldn't make any shots down the stretch against a Princeton team that has some shot makers.
Yeah, those boys can shoot.
Baylor was vulnerable because they couldn't defend, and Creighton's a much better team right now than a 6 seed normally is. And Creighton was a top 10 preseason team, and we're finally starting to see some of that, some of what I believed in them early season.
Yeah. We were all in on Creighton, so.
Yeah, this is actually Princeton's first Sweet 16 since 1967.
Okay.
So they did make a couple runs in the late 90s where they got to the second round, but fell short to Mississippi State in 96 and Michigan State in 98.
I'm just glad my Ivy League team's dominating. All these.
You should be taking
for picking them over Yale.
You should be taking somewhat of a victory lap. I mean, you were all over Princeton of the Ivy League tournament.
That's right.
I don't know if you'd watched them play before the Ivy League tournament, but that's all right.
This year.
So I think their margin of victory being what it is probably pretty high for a 15 seed as well, plus 19. They beat Missouri by 15.
Yeah, they embarrassed Missouri.
Well, Missouri was always vulnerable. They couldn't make shots.
Yeah.
Kobe Brown was bad in that game. And
Princeton just, you could tell that they wanted it more too. They crashed the boards. I think they were up 20 rebounds at one time in that game. Something like that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens in Missouri. You know, first year with Dennis Gates, had a team of like almost all seniors, won 25 games. I think recruiting and transfer portal is going to be very important for them. Then you also had Duke absolutely obliterate Oral Roberts in the 5-12. No 5-12 upsets this year.
Yeah.
Duke beat Oral Roberts, St. Mary's beat VCU, Miami beat Drake, and San Diego State beat Charleston. So none of those. I like I said in the bracket breakdown, I was hoping Oral Roberts would get a better matchup. I don't know what that better matchup would have been. Maybe I guess Miami, just because Miami doesn't defend, I guess would be the only one, even though Miami's a good tournament team as well, as we've seen. And then Duke lost to Tennessee in the second round. Duke looked young in that game. Tennessee got 27 points from Kumwa, who I don't know if has he ever scored 27 points this career? Certainly not one of their better scoring options. But I mean, that game kind of got away from Duke late. It was 27-21 at the half. And then it was a 9-point lead going into the final 10 minutes. And then they won the final 10 minutes by 4. So a 13-point win for Tennessee. Olivier Kumwa, fourth year at Tennessee. His season high was 27 against he scored 27 points against Texas. So he seems to show up in the big games. So ties a career high in the second round of the tournament. And the two times, you know, you got a guy like that, you lose Zakai Ziegler, which Tennessee did, kind of their anchor in terms of perimeter defense and a solid point guard despite being a little bit undersized. That doesn't matter. You look at Marquise Noel from Kansas State, and Kumwa rising to the occasion twice this year. This is a Tennessee team that beat Texas by 11 and then kind of fell apart a little bit. The metrics still love what Tennessee has put on tape, and maybe not on tape, but just the little numbers, the analytics for Tennessee are still good. So Kumwa, 27 points against Texas, 27 points against Duke. Big game player. We'll see what he does against FAU. And a non-shocker, like I said, was Virginia losing to Furman. The way they lost was surprising, but not the result of the actual game. The fact that Kie Clark, who's maybe one of the smartest guards in the country, one of the most experienced guards in the country, just throws a terrible pass from the court, just chucks it up.
Yeah, that was...
And it gets intercepted into a JP Peguse three ball. And Furman then got destroyed by San Diego State, but hey, they won a game. So there you go. The 8-9 results here, Maryland outlasted West Virginia after a terrible start. Kedrian Johnson had 27 for West Virginia. Eric Stevenson probably lost him that game, for being honest. Auburn, too athletic for Iowa. The Hawkeyes losing this round of 64 for the second straight season. Still no Sweet 16s under Fran McCaffrey for Iowa. So what can you do, really? I don't really care. Illinois can't score points, and Arkansas handled them. That's all we got to say about that. No surprise.
Yeah.
Anyone who isn't a moron could have seen that coming. And FAU came back to beat Memphis late. So FAU, we'll get to them in a little bit, but 33 wins right now.
Yeah, they are. They're good. I think a lot of people, you know, they didn't think Purdue was going to do much, but I think everybody thought Memphis was going to be the team that upset Purdue, and FAU proved they belong, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, FDU played them tough as well last night. FAU kind of ran away towards the end. They got a big game from Janelle Davis, yes, who I have listed here later on. We'll talk about what he did in that game. The 7-10 results, Missouri did outshoot Utah State and pretty much ran away from them in that 7-10. Penn State's Andrew Funk goes 8 for 10 from 3. They beat Texas A&M by double digits. Northwestern puts Boise State down as the Mountain West outside of San Diego State struggled. You had Nevada just get obliterated in the first 4 by Arizona State. You had Boise State lose in the first round to Northwestern. And then you had the team known as Utah State get beat up in the first round of Missouri. So Mountain West pretty much, I mean, San Diego State's putting them on their back. So, and then Michigan State tried to blow it, but they beat USC. So there you go. Not a surprising result there. All right. We also have real quick, Arkansas beat Kansas on Saturday in a foul fest. The Hogs get it done. They are now seeking their third straight appearance to the Elite Eight with a matchup against UConn.
Don't ever count the must bus out. How's that sound?
It's fair to say. Houston scored 50 points in the second half as they beat Auburn. Kelvin Sampson might be one of the best NCAA tournament coaches currently in the game in the last 5 or 6 years that hasn't won a championship, because they've won a lot of games in March. Because if you just kind of do a little look through here of the last, we'll say since 2018, because they had 3 years of not making the tournament when he first got there. Second round in 2018, Sweet 16 in 2019, no tournament in 2020, but they would have been in. Final Four in 21, Elite Eight in 22, and Sweet 16 now in 23. So Houston, Miami, a fascinating matchup, because whichever team wins will be in the Elite Eight for a consecutive year. It will be 3 in a row for Houston, but 2 in a row for Miami. And that'll be a fascinating game. Somebody asked Jeff Goodman who a better matchup was for Houston between Miami and Indiana, and I said Indiana. I'm a little bit worried about Houston. We'll see though.
Yeah.
I thought Indiana could have been controlled more by Houston's defense than Miami, because Miami has seems like 100 guys out there that are just super athletic and can make shots. Some of the shots that Isaiah Wong made last night down the stretch and Nigel Pack early, and then Norchad Omier just completely dominated the glass. I mean, Jim Larinaga he may look like Jim Boeheim, but he's a way better coach right now than Jim Boeheim claimed to be late in the career. You also had UCLA. They keep winning despite injury issues. That's 3 straight Sweet 16s for my good friend Mick Cronin at UCLA. Michigan State knocks Marquette out. Kansas State, I don't know why I wrote Kansas State destroys Kentucky. I guess it just felt like that because they ran away late. Probably because Kentucky had 3 guys that they rely on that missed 22 shots.
Yeah, Calipari can't coach.
Yeah, I'm glad those Kentucky morons go to those threads and say, "Hey, get them out." Oh, Matt Painter would be a nice change of pace. You redneck idiots, so stupid. There's the holier than thou Kentucky fan who defends Calipari to no end, and then there's the redneck morons, for lack of a better term, that go on the threads and want them fired after every single game. I will say the results are not good enough right now, though. If you're Calipari, and I say Calipari because I've Big Cat and those guys say it, so I just wanted to throw one in for them. Shout out. I'm sure they're watching this for sure. FAU ends FDU's magical run in the round of 32, and the Big Ten is down to 1 team after Miami beat Indiana. So the Big Ten, if you go, it's a results-based business here. Maryland lost in round 2 to Alabama. No problem. Nothing wrong with that. Then you look to the other side. Indiana loses round 2 to Miami. Okay, fine. You ran into a good opponent. Fine. Yeah. Iowa loses round 1 to Auburn. Bad matchup. Still, Fran can't find a way to win any big game in March at this point, especially when you had the opportunity 2 years ago as a 2 seed and you let Oregon score 90-plus points on you. I know Dan Altman's a Rubik's Cube guy with a lot of March success, but got to find a way to win one there, I think.
Play some defense, Iowa.
Yeah, Penn State, round 2 loss to Texas. Fine. Live with that.
They had a shot.
Illinois, round 1 loss to Arkansas. Expected this team, not good. Northwestern, round 2 loss to UCLA. Fine. Nothing wrong with that.
They were in it.
Michigan State still in there in the Sweet 16, beat USC and Marquette. Very nice. And then Purdue, obviously the most unacceptable of them all, losing to FDU in the first round. Did I miss one?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's count. Maryland, Iowa, Indiana, Penn State, Illinois, Northwestern, Michigan State, Purdue. 8. All right, there we go.
Good work. Matt Painter can't coach against teams that suck.
I would say probably 7 of the 8 results are understandable, or 6 of the 7 results are understandable.
I agree. I don't know what people expect. I mean, expect from the Big Ten when
this year they shouldn't have expected anything.
When they only have 2 teams, that are top 4 seeds. Everybody else is 8, 9, 10, fighting for their lives. The 7 seed got out.
The problem was 2021 when they had 2 1s, a couple 2s.
I agree.
And Michigan was the only team that got there.
Absolutely question that. But, yeah. I don't know.
Purdue ruined it for everybody this year.
But nobody had any faith in Purdue anyway.
Yeah, but you lost to a 16 seed. If they would have lost to Memphis, I'd be like, yeah, that's about right. But come on. You lost to a team that had a guy that was 6'6" playing the 5, and their backcourt was 5'8" and 5'9". Can't happen.
Rely on freshman guards.
In the worst conference in the country, and a conference where St. Francis Brooklyn just shut down their entire athletics program, and they were in that conference.
Yeah.
And a team that lost to 362nd ranked on KenPom Hartford, 351st ranked on KenPom Sacred Heart, and 340th ranked Central Connecticut. Fairleigh Dickinson lost all those teams.
Yeah. I mean,
and I'm not trying to take anything away from them. Okay. They played out of their minds, and they were relentless, and they were fast. They were faster than Purdue. And Tobin Anderson, obviously, is a guy that can inject energy into a program. This is his first year after kind of dominating the D2, D3 circuits. Finally, somebody gives him a chance. The guy's making $22,000 a year. And, hell of a job by him. But Purdue, it's unacceptable.
The Roberts kid is phenomenal.
Dimitri Roberts, yes. Terrific guard. Terrific.
They never showed it again. I don't know why. When he went to the baseline yesterday and started to go back up and did that behind the back hesitation to a reverse layup, that was the best play to me in the tournament so far.
Can he enter the portal and come to Illinois?
I don't know. I'd take him in a heartbeat.
I don't know about that.
I would.
Well, your standards are not quite as high as mine. That's all right. I don't know if a 5'8" guard's going to work in the Big Ten.
How? Let's talk about this Big Ten. We're talking about Big Ten a little bit. So what side are you on? Because I cannot understand Big Ten fan bases, because everybody blames the refs, right? But you have people that say that the refs don't call enough, and you have people that say the refs call too much. And I cannot understand how it can be two separate sides of the.
I think a lot of it is dependent on the crew.
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten's problem is more of a play style thing.
I agree. I don't think it's the refs as much. You're going to have refs that call a game looser, and you're going to have them call them stricter. But I don't think that, it just boggles my mind that it's completely opposite spectrums is how people view the Big Ten refs. Some people say, oh, they don't let them get handsy like they do in the tournament. And then you have other ones that say, oh, they don't call enough down low or something like that. I don't understand. I feel like the refs, there have been so many premeditated whistles this year in the tournament.
Yeah.
Under the basket, things like that. But I don't know.
Those are Bardo calls there where if he misses, it's a foul. Yeah. As my good friend Rico Bosco said last night during the Barstool Sportsbook live stream, he said Bardo from the Big Ten Network is a hack. So tend to agree with him there, a little shot. But yeah, I think the Big Ten fans need to stop worrying so much about the officiating.
Yeah, it's the play style that's killing the Big Ten.
And I did see somebody say something, I don't even know who it was, say something about how the officiating the tournament is an issue because they let them get away with so much more compared to the regular season and teams can't adjust. Okay, why don't you tell that to every single NHL team for the last 50,000 years that has dealt with the fact that the playoff style is more physical.
But then you have the Arkansas-Kansas game where they called everything.
That was horrible.
So,
yeah.
I mean, everybody was fouling out of that game. But, I mean, you took Michigan State because of guards. I think guards are a huge part of it. Purdue had freshman guards. They were relying on freshman guards. FDU had 11 steals against those freshman guards.
So, also in the Big Ten, you had Maryland had 2 transfer guards, one of which was really good this year, Jameer Young. You had Iowa, who has like either non-athletic guards or non-scoring guards.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a problem.
McCaffrey probably wouldn't play anywhere else.
Yeah, and as great as well, he probably played for like Central Connecticut or Fairleigh Dickinson. Yeah. You have Indiana, who as good as Hood Schifino is, they don't really have
anybody else.
Yeah, and Hood Schifino is a freshman, but he's an NBA talent freshman. Yeah. That's the difference there. It wasn't his fault they lost. Penn State has veteran guards, and their guards weren't the reason that they lost because, I mean, Funk had a bunch of shots going in and out.
The reason they lost is because Timmy Allen shut down, but he could hang with a Pickett who either you usually have a guard on him or not a big body. So I thought that he handled Pickett really well. I think that's why Texas won that game.
Yeah. You had Illinois, who literally did not have a point guard.
No guards.
At all. And if they were going to have a point guard, it was a guy who was either pretending to be a point guard or not having any experience of being a freshman. So that was a huge problem. Thanks, Sky Clark. Thanks, Brad Underwood, for that. And then you had Northwestern. They have good guards. They just ran into a UCLA team that's way more experienced.
Yep.
And has Jaime Jaquez, and they didn't have Jaime Jaquez, I guess would be my thoughts there, who's quickly becoming like one of the mainstays of the tournament the last 3 years, and he has eligibility next year, so come on back.
It's like Cronin's begging him, it sounds like. Cronin might pay him out of his own pocket.
Whoa, let me I'll hit up my good friend Mick here soon, and we'll get an answer on that for everybody. All right. Couple coaching changes to talk about real quick here. Rick Pitino signed a 6-year deal to go to St. John's after losing in the first round to UConn at Iona. So no surprise here. I think we all thought this was going to happen.
Yeah, he's going to have to pull out his map to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. No doubt. But yeah, I think this is a good hire. I think if you're St. John's, you kind of just stop throwing stuff at the wall, get a guy who's proven, I know whatever happened at Louisville was bad, but he had a lot of success in the Big East before it kind of changed again. So the Big East is at a bit of a different spot, but he can attract the talent. I have to wonder if there's a couple guys from Iona that go with him, except these guys are way more talented than the guys that went with Shaheen Holloway to Seton Hall, no offense.
Yeah.
But like you could see Iona, that team kept up with UConn for a pretty long time. For a team that's a team coming out of a conference that had a 15 seed last year that was not good, that somehow got to the Elite Eight. So I think guys like Nelly Jr. Joseph, Walter Clayton is only a sophomore. Guy shot 43% from 3. And Denise Jenkins, Denise Jenkins, what a weird way to spell that name. I wonder if those guys that are still have years of eligibility, if they make the move with them to St. John's. And I wonder who he keeps around there, because there's guys that were on the St. John's roster
that's true.
They need to make some serious changes to this program, I would think. I mean,
Curbelo to Hofstra.
Sure. I mean, Posh Alexander still has a year if he wants it, maybe even 2. I don't even know how the COVID rules work. I think David Jones, who's a transfer from DePaul as well, Curbelo still has a year or 2. I don't know how that all works. I think a year. They got a bunch of guys that still have eligibility. It's about how many guys are going to enter the portal, because this overall St. John's was a fairly young team outside of their top couple players. So we will see. And then you have Ed Cooley to Georgetown. I mean, guys from Providence, been in Providence for 12 years, had some success, and now he's going for the higher ceiling with Georgetown. And Georgetown is ultimately a better job, but I think it had to be hard for Cooley to leave Providence. If you're a Providence fan, honestly, if I were a Providence fan right now, I would hate Ed Cooley. You know why? Because they pretty much mailed it in late in the season, and they were not good. And I think he owed it to those players to maybe be a little bit better. And, I've always liked Cooley. It seems like a great guy, but I think Providence fans should probably be booing him when he returns to the dunk with Georgetown.
I mean, it just seems like a weird move to me, but I guess.
I think it's weird for a lot of reasons, but I don't think it's weird for the reason that people would be like, well, Georgetown hasn't won and they're irrelevant, but like.
That's why you hire a new coach. Yeah. I mean.
More resources, much higher ceiling than Providence.
Yeah.
So,
no loyalty these days.
What I'm interested to see is like there's a rumor about him listing his house in early March, but I don't know if that's true. But it's on there now, $1.9 million house in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. So if anybody's interested in that, head on over to Zillow.com. Yeah. House listed, paper signed on March 3rd, 6 days before Georgetown opened, is what somebody said.
Really?
Yeah. By somebody, I mean some commenter on that post, but hey, maybe he's right. Very weird. Very weird. Very nice house, though. A little bit too fancy for my liking, I think.
Yeah.
Got some nice jerseys on the wall.
Probably more of that mansion style you keep talking about.
Yeah, he's got a nice Chris Dunn jersey when Chris Dunn was drafted by the Timberwolves out of Providence. That's very nice. Built in 2004, so pretty young house. 4 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. Jesus. 6 bathrooms.
What did you say it was? 1.2 mil?
1.9.
Oh, well, out of my budget. Shoot.
Pretty good price. Not bad. 5,815 square feet. If anybody's interested, head on over there. But yeah, Cooley, we'll see.
Missions off of this, or
what's the wish? What's the how many years do you think it takes Cooley to get them back in the tournament? I'm gonna say with the portal he can get there in year 2.
Yeah, I would say 2.
And does he convince any of those guys to stay, like Primo Spears?
What if he goes there and flops?
Well, then he will be thinking about how big of a mistake he made. And I saw Georgetown fans saying they wanted to make Providence their pipeline. So hire Kim English or Micah Shrewsbury, and if it doesn't work out for them, or if it doesn't work out for Cooley, you bring in one of them from Providence. But
I think Providence is an upgrade over Penn State.
No.
Okay.
And even if it was slightly an upgrade, I don't think Shrewsbury would take that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because Providence,
I think Shrewsbury's going to stay.
Yeah, I think we're probably heading in that direction. And the other thing with Kim English is I think he's going to be a very good coach one day, but it'd be hard for me as a Providence fan, if I were a Providence fan, to kind of be like, okay, this guy has one top 5 finish in the Atlantic 10 in 2 years, and he was in the system for a while, but should he be a Big East head coach already? I feel like that's a little bit premature for him. I think it'd be a great hire in the long run, as I tweeted earlier, but I think there is a reason to take a step back and think about why that might not be the best move for Providence, but you're also Providence, so I don't know what you really expect. Bryce Hopkins is surely gone after this, I would think. So they already had that Jared Bynum guard enter the portal, and I said yes, I would love him at Illinois. It's a guy who averaged 5 assists a game. So that's something that our guards don't do. Any and every guard I'm interested in for the Illini anyway. All right, now that's out of the way. We'll see what other coaching things happen. You still have now you got to fill Providence, you got to fill Iona, you got to fill Notre Dame still. I don't know if I'm missing any. You also had Damon Stoudemire go to Georgia Tech. That was a good hire. He did a good job at Pacific before going to the Celtics as an assistant. All right, the top performers that I have from the first and second rounds here. In the first round, I got 4 of them. I got Andrew Funk, 27 points, 8 of 10 from 3 against Texas A&M. Oscar Tshiebwe, just because it was funny to see 8 points and 25 rebounds against Providence. Ryan Kalkbrenner for Creighton had 31 points and 7 rebounds against NC State. And Julian Strother for Gonzaga had 28 points and 10 rebounds over Grand Canyon. Second round, you had Olivier or Olivier. It's got to be Olivier Kumwa from Tennessee.
I think so.
27 points, 5 boards over Duke. Somehow Dylan Disu, who if this guy's going to score 28 and 10 for Texas, they are going to be a problem because that's probably like their 5th scoring option. I mean, you have Hunter, you have Carr, you have Allen, maybe he'd be, and then you have Serge Jabari Rice. So that's your 5th right there. And he scored 28 against Penn State. As I alluded to earlier, Jaime Jaquez Jr., 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists against Northwestern. Ryan Nimhart of Creighton, 30 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals against Baylor. Marquise Noel, who Calipari classically referred to as that little guy from Kansas State, 27 points, 9 assists in the win over Kentucky. And then John L. Davis from FAU, 29 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and it was either 5 blocks or 5 steals. I don't even know. So shout out to him. I just wrote 5. Let me give it a look here. 5 steals. There we go. He's 6'4". What did I expect? All right. You got anybody else you think of?
Nope.
Good. Moving along.
I didn't get a rundown on what was going on. So.
Well, I didn't think you wanted one.
Well, I was gone all day, so
exactly.
Just here to add light banter to your commentary.
Yeah, and if people are interested in playback.tv, I'll be on there Thursday for sure, and Friday probably for sure, and probably Saturday and probably Sunday. Maybe not the entire time each time, but be advised for that. And if you, yeah, for sure, whatever, yeah.
For a game or two, huh?
Yeah. Maybe all of them Thursday. And if you like baseball,
golf. Are you golfing?
If you like baseball, I will be on there for the World Baseball Classic Championship game tomorrow night at 6:00 Central.
China versus Japan.
The winner of Japan and Mexico will take on the United States. If the U.S. was not in it, I would not be doing this. By the way. All right. Moving along. Make sure to join on Playback. Yeah.
.tv.
Okay. Yeah. Looking ahead to the Sweet 16, some stats, some numbers, some thoughts here. Alabama, San Diego State, Creighton, and those 3 teams have never been to the Final Four. Mm-hmm. Princeton has not been to the Final Four since 1965. One of them will reach out of the South region. If you rank them in terms of likelihood, for me, I think it's easily Alabama the most likely, Creighton the second most likely, Princeton the third most likely, and San Diego State fourth, because I don't think San Diego State has a chance against Alabama, but that's just me. Kansas State has gone from 10th in the Big 12's preseason poll to the Sweet 16 to face Tom Izzo and Michigan State. Notable headline there. FAU has won 20-plus games twice in program history. They went 21-11 in 2010-2011, and they missed the tournament that year. And this year they're 33-3. So quite a number there.
Can you rank those 4 likelihood of making it to the Final Four for me?
In the East region?
Yeah. I like that. You give me everyone.
All right. We're gonna go Kansas State number 1.
Okay.
We're gonna go Michigan State number 2, Tennessee 3, FAU 4.
So whoever comes out of the Kansas State, Michigan State, is gonna win.
Yep. Very confident in that.
Okay.
Over to the Midwest region, Houston is seeking their 3rd straight trip to the Elite Eight and their 4th straight trip to the Sweet 16. Miami is also seeking their 2nd straight trip to the Elite Eight. I did not. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I wrote that weird. Xavier's last Elite Eight appearance was 2017. And then Texas was 2008. I believe they lost to Memphis in 2008, if I'm correct on that. And also Texas, don't be confused, because that was they went to round 2 in 2007 with Kevin Durant, and then he went to the draft, and then they went to the Elite Eight the next season. So in that region, I would say Houston is number 1 in terms of likelihood to get to the Final Four. I would say Texas is 2, Xavier's 3, Miami's 4. So pretty straightforward there.
Right in order. So
Yeah.
what do you consider more chalky? A 1-2-3-5 or an 8-2-3-4?
1, 2, 3, 5.
I would agree.
Because Kansas losing to an 8, it's kind of, and Arkansas ceiling though is probably a 2 or a 3 if they had a good regular season and they were healthier. But Muss is putting the pieces together. Speaking of which, Arkansas is seeking their third straight trip to the Elite Eight, and UConn is in the second weekend for the first time under Dan Hurley. Remember, this is a UConn program that was in the American Athletic Conference for a little bit before returning to the Big East. They won a national championship not that long ago. People forget, right? So
That's an 8 seed.
2 national
They won it
championships.
as an 8 seed or something.
Yeah, that was
seed?
2014, I believe. They were an 8 seed. Let me see. Actually, they were a 7 seed. They beat Kentucky, and then 2000. What was it? 2011. Yeah, 2011. They were a 3 seed and won the national championship. So under 2 different coaches, Jim Calhoun was still there back then. Kevin Ollie, who turned out to be a not good coach, then did it again. So I think we should also consider Jim Calhoun to be Mr. March if we're talking about Tom Izzo. I mean, I think Mr. Calhoun's resume speaks for itself.
That's true.
Just to look it up real quick and tell everybody.
Do you think that UConn run made people favor the champions of the tournaments of their conference more now than they used to in the past?
No.
Okay. Because, I mean, people talked about how hot Duke was, and a lot of people had them going places.
Well, it's people who are stupid. Like me.
Idiots.
Yeah.
Like picking Arizona, sure.
Yep. I said like me.
I know. I was telling people why like you, though.
Right. So Jim Calhoun won 3 national championships, went to 4 Final Fours, and a national championship was won with his guys 2 years later. So that's 2 more championships than Mr. March, as we call Tom Izzo. I know that Izzo's been to 15 Sweet 16s? I mean,
15 in 27 years or something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not impressed with that.
Yeah, I'd hate to go, every other year. That'd be brutal. 4, 5, 6. Hope Illinois 7, never does
8,
that.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He went to 13. Calhoun went to 13 Sweet 16s, but he also made the most of it by winning national titles. So something that Izzo hasn't done in a billion years. I'm not discounting Izzo. He's making me look good right now. And then Gonzaga will play another tournament classic, or a potential, maybe another tournament classic after 2006, 2021, something that I mentioned in the bracket breakdown, coming true in the Sweet 16. So dreams do come true, folks. My rankings here is going to throw everybody a little bit, I think, but maybe not too much. I'm going to say Gonzaga is the most likely. Then I'm going to say UCLA is the second most likely. Then I'm going to say Arkansas is third. I'm going to say UConn is fourth.
Really?
Yeah.
You were a UConn guy for the whole season.
Wait till there's a game where they're playing an elite team with elite scorers on the other end, and Jordan Hawkins can't make a shot, and Sonogo is getting shut down.
Yesterday, you tweeted out that Gonzaga was worrying you, and then you put them first.
Then they picked up the pace and put on a clinic against TCU in the second half.
Okay.
Gonzaga has a lot of scoring, and I think that's going to hurt some teams.
Yeah.
Like, even if Timmy's not dropping 25, Strother and Bolton and Hickman and Watson is not really a scorer, but he can, muck it up around the baseline and such. I think the winner of Gonzaga UCLA gets there. I think UCLA, I don't know what more they can prove that they can still win games without Jalen Clark. So, and if Singleton is okay, which I think he is after the ankle roll.
Sounds like it,
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, why not? UConn, I still don't trust.
It's good. I would love the Arkansas Gonzaga matchup. That'd be fantastic.
Had that in the Sweet 16 last year. All right. Sure. Sweet 16 predictions here, or matchups and predictions. So the first game is Michigan State, Kansas State. That's at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on TBS. That'll be from Madison Square Garden in New York, New York. Talking like Rick Pitino there, if you heard his interviews during the game. So I don't really know how I approach this matchup. On one end, you have Jerome Tang, who had a lot of success at Baylor as an assistant his first year at Kansas State. On the other end, you have fake Mr. March, because Jim Calhoun's real Mr. March, Tom Izzo, who has had a lot more success, it seems, with the 6 and above seeds in recent years. And this is probably a bit of a different team than what he's had in the past in terms that have gotten there, because it's like Tyson Walker is a veteran guard, but he's also played at Northeastern for a few years, so that's kind of a different look. They didn't really have the Cassius Winston, Xavier Tillman inside-out thing that they had going there for a while, but either way, they're here, and they beat up on Marquette a little bit there in that second-round game.
They're not only here, they're the favorite in this game.
That's not overly surprising, given who their coach is and how much of a factor that everybody thinks that he plays, which, I mean, he's not rolling the ball out there. You see how tall he is? He get dominated out there. Or see how short he is, I guess what I should have said. But in terms of the metrics, both teams better defensively than they are offensively. Michigan State is 38th on offense and 31st on defense. K-State is 47th on offense and 17th on defense. But don't make that out to be something that it's not, because Kansas State can still score the basketball. They have plenty of scoring. It's just they're not very efficient.
Yeah.
But three-pointer percentage could be a big factor here. Kansas State 195th, Michigan State 6th. And Michigan State doesn't really take a lot of threes. They just make them, is usually how this goes, because they're 268th inside the arc in percentage scoring. So
it impressed me that K-State made them when they needed to, though, against Kentucky.
That is correct, yes. So we'll see what happens in this matchup. I'm going to give you a final score. I'm going to say Michigan State wins it 71-66. I'm going to say that Walker and Hogard and Hauser and Akins are making the shots they need to make. And I'm going to say Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel come up just short.
I'll take K-State. No score.
All right.
0-0.
Arkansas, UConn, second game of the night. Whoa, just about lost that. That is at 6:15 p.m. Central Standard Time on CBS from T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, the home of the Illini's brilliant victory over the Bruins in November. So, yeah, must bust Danny Hurley, maybe the craziest coaching matchup that we're going to see this year. Really taking it up a notch.
Yeah.
So, I like Arkansas's talent, because who wouldn't? I worry about UConn's kind of out of control. If we're not playing through Sonogo and Hawkins isn't making shots, we might be in trouble style, even though I do think that we do sometimes underrate Naheem Aline and Tristan Newton, the other two guards. So, and then they do have, Caravan and Joey California off the bench that can make shots. So UConn has probably more shot makers than I give them credit for, but I think a big thing is how hard I rode UConn the last 2 years going into this year, and they let me down both times, and I still can't trust them. So I'm not going to pick them to win any game the rest of the tournament, I don't think.
Wow.
So with that said, I'm taking the Razorbacks 69-67. It's going to be 67-66. And then Ricky Council dishes it right to Anthony Black, who dishes it to the corner for Devo Davis. Knocks down the lefty three ball, goes like this. Must Bust takes his shirt off, bada bing, to the Elite Eight. Go the Raverbacks, as some would call them.
Yeah. I'll take Arkansas because I need them to win. And Devo Davis, the amount of emotion he showed after that game, it seems like he really wants this. So,
well, people are saying that
like that.
People are saying that Arkansas may have blown their load with Must Bust taking his shirt off and going a little bit too hard after that game, and maybe not showing the proper class that Kansas fans expect from, we're Kansas, we're coached by Bill Self, we definitely don't cheat ever, we're Kansas. Shut up. Yeah. All right, we got Gonzaga, UCLA. Okay, never mind. That's out of order. All right, we got.
Broke it.
Okay, we got FAU Tennessee, 8 p.m. Central Standard, TBS, Madison Square Garden. If you would have told Florida Atlantic at the beginning of the season they'd be playing a Sweet 16 game at MSG, you'd have been like, all right, here we go. But yeah, this is a Tennessee defense that's ranked first in the country and an FAU offense that's ranked 30th in efficiency. And FAU has the advantage, I think, when Tennessee has the ball. Tennessee 60th in efficiency. FAU can defend. People might look at this team and be like, they're a Conference USA team. Those teams don't play defense. You would be wrong, sir. 36th in the country in efficiency is FAU. Big factor here, Tennessee 218th in three-point percentage, 162nd in two-point percentage, 213th in free throw line percentage. They rely a lot on defense. So I think if the likes of John L. Davis can score some points, you also got Elijah Martin, who's a 37% three-point shooter for the Owls. And you got Brian Greenlee, who's a 39% three-point shooter, and Nick Boyd, who's 38%. So they got some guys that can knock down the triples on top of the fact that John L. Davis is 39% and can score around the rim 54% in two-point percentage. So defense, how Tennessee defends is going to be a big factor. And I think the officials are also going to play a big factor because Tennessee's very physical. Flopopowski of Duke tried to get some calls early in that game and struggled to do so. But you have a balanced offense with Florida Atlantic, 41st in both three-point and two-point percentage. So I think everything here tells me to take Florida Atlantic, but I'm not going to do so. I'm going to take Tennessee 62-55. I think their defense a bit too suffocating, and I think Vescovy or Kumwa or somebody of that ilk will score some points for them when they need it most. But I would love to see FAU win this game.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't know if FAU has enough. I'm going to go with Tennessee. And I feel bad for the FAU kids because apparently everybody hates them now because one guy tried to pull off a really cool dunk at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? I just can't. I can't get mad about that.
If he would have done that against Purdue, would people have been mad?
No.
Exactly.
Let's also toss this out there for everybody. Dusty May, FAU's coach, closed his press conference last night by saying we're going to study Australian rugby rules and get ready for the Vols. And I tweeted about this. I said, I find it interesting how fans will adjust their values or general thoughts of basketball based on their team that season. Purdue fans are an example of this. They'll defend almost any wrong. Tennessee too, it appears. Like Tennessee fans saying, I hope Plavsic elbows that kid because they just they defend the dirtiness.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Like, it's so stupid.
Pathetic is what it is.
Like, just go ahead and start with the Vols 3 fouls all on Euros naturally. Or don't forget football helmets and shoulder pads. Or I hope Plavsic clobbers Martin to start the game for that end of game dunk stunt. Who the fuck do you think you are saying that? I mean, shut the hell up.
Right.
Yeah, so that just annoys the hell out of me that Tennessee fans will just defend anything as long as it's there. Like, I would not do that. I think some Illinois fans probably would, but I would not do that. Anyway, so Tennessee is my enemy number one this week. So hopefully the Owls take care of those bums. Talentless losers with a loser for a head coach. Moving along. By loser for Rick Barnes, I have a lot of respect for him. He's had plenty of success, but some teams he should have gotten a lot further with. I digress. Gonzaga UCLA, my most anticipated game of the week. My good friend Mick Cronin manning the sidelines for UCLA and Mark Few on the other end. You got veterans and mainstays of the tournament of the last few years like Jaime Jaquez, Tiger Campbell, Drew Timme. You got two programs that have battled it out in 2006 with the Adam Morrison Gonzaga team that lost after UCLA scored the final 11 points. You have 2021 where Jalen Suggs hit the half-court buzzer beater, and their other tournament matchup was nothing to write home about. So let's make this a best of three. This is the third game between the two. I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be in Vegas. Should be a great environment there. I think UCLA fans will actually show up to Vegas this time now that it's March.
Yeah, they show up in March apparently because there weren't any back in December.
It was November, and it was football season, dude. Okay, they had a decent team.
Yeah, how many people come out to those?
Nobody. All right. Gonzaga offense is number 1. UCLA defense is number 2. That's the tail of the tape here. Gonzaga has not defended well in their first couple games. They did lock it down a little bit in the second half against TCU yesterday, but a little bit worried about the defense. 76th in the country in efficiency. And without Jalen Clark and with a banged up Adem Bona and a banged up David Singleton, who are both, I'm sure, going to play.
Yeah.
I find it hard not to sit here and trust UCLA, but the numbers are telling me to take the Zags, and I'm going to take them. I'm going to take them 77-72. I think this will be a close game, maybe 72-72 before Gonzaga. Timmy makes a big shot. 5 seconds left. UCLA misses. Rebound. Free throw. UCLA misses. 1 second left. 2 free throws. Guy makes one, misses the other, so it's a 5-point game. I should have just gone about that a different way.
Speed ever.
Right. Who was rolling the ball down the court last night when the clock was
TCU.
Still going? Was it TCU? I thought it was Indiana.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the end of the game.
Well, Indiana was letting the ball roll while the clock was running. So that was kind of weird. Makes no sense. Yeah. But I'm going to take Gonzaga. I'm going to take Gonzaga, even though it would be better for my bracket. I'm going to take Gonzaga. It would be better for my bracket if they won. But, of course, I'm rooting for my good friend Mick Cronin to win this game.
I'm going to take UCLA in this game. I
hope you're right.
Gonzaga's offense, I know that they, have figured out the second half, but I don't know. They scare me. And if Gonzaga wins, I'll be happy anyway. So give me UCLA.
I'm a big Hawkes Campbell guy. This is probably the West Coast team that I've watched the most over the last 3 years. So I want UCLA to win, obviously, and I hope they do. San Diego State, Alabama kicks it off on Friday, 5:30 p.m. Central on TBS from the Louisville KFC Yum Center. We'll be seeing Sky Clark throw it down in those parts when they go 5-39 next season. Somehow play 44 games. San Diego State making their first trip to the Sweet 16 in a few years, I want to say. I haven't even done my research on this one, but I feel like they got there a few years ago, right? Had to have.
Right, yes.
Let's see. 2014, it appears. Yeah, 2014, last Sweet 16 appearance. None under Brian Dutcher. This is the first year that they've gotten out of the first round with him. But the point still stands. They've been good, and they really locked Furman down. In terms of Alabama, we know them just about as elite gets in a lot of ways. Probably the second best team in this tournament in terms of metrics. They are second on KenPom, but I think UCLA is pretty close, and Houston's the best in terms of that. But I think the big thing here is how is San Diego State going to defend Alabama's guards? Because I think if you can frustrate Sears and Quinterly, then you're like, okay, Brandon Miller is going to get his. Try to slow down Noah Clowney a little bit, and you got a chance. I mean, you look at the defensive effort. I know there's a huge gap between Furman and Alabama, but San Diego State's defense has only gotten better this year because when they were in Maui, it did not look good, and now they're 5th in the country in efficiency. So I think San Diego State's got a chance. However, I think Bama pulls away late and wins by 10, 70-60.
Yeah, I think Alabama, best team in the tournament. I think they're going to win it all still. So, give me Alabama.
I wouldn't be stunned if we have one seed left in the Elite Eight. I'll say that. And I wouldn't be that surprised if there were 0. Just because of how most of this tournament hasn't really made much sense to this point, except for I think the West region, which lost Kansas in round 2, has made the most sense.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at this point. We got Miami-Houston, another very anticipated game for me. I will definitely try to be on playback during this one because this is going to be a battle of athleticism and length and rebounding is what this is going to be, because you have Houston, who's the 4th best offensive rebounding team in the country, versus Miami, who, while they're 59th, Norchad Omier was all over the glass last night against the Hoosiers of Indiana. And by the way, what I find maybe the most hilarious thing is that Trace Jackson Davis, or TJJ as he's known around these parts, he has, let me look up his rebound or his block total blocks So he has the most blocks in the history of Indiana's program, with 270, right? 270 blocks, most in the program history. Then you look elsewhere, and you're like, okay. Anthony Davis at Kentucky had 186 blocks in 1 year. So, not that impressive there, TJJ. Okay, not that impressive. But anyway, it just goes to a whole disrespect thing where people pretend that Anthony Davis isn't one of the best players in the history of college basketball because he played one season. Who cares? You know what he did in that one season? National champion, NCAA all-tourney, all-region, most outstanding player in the tournament, player of the year, Wooden Award, Naismith Award, consensus All-American, Rupp Trophy, whatever the hell that is, SEC player of the year, all SEC tournament, all defense, all freshman, SEC defensive player of the year, SEC rookie of the year in one season. He averaged 14 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks. Okay? So everybody can shut the hell up about saying that Anthony Davis isn't one of the best players in the history of college basketball. He had 2 games with 8 blocks. He had 7 games with 7 blocks. He had 6 games with 6 blocks. Okay? He had maybe 8 games where he didn't have more than 3 blocks. What are we doing? How stupid are these people? That's what I said on the thing where it had like the 9 players, like pick 3. And I was like, if you don't pick Anthony Davis, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Trace Jackson Davis, TJJ, has the most blocks in the history of Indiana's program, which is a pretty storied program, right? He has, how many blocks did I say? He had 270?
Mm-hmm.
He had 84 more blocks in 3 years than Anthony Davis had in one season. So let's all relax, okay? Let's all relax with this Anthony Davis thing, this slander where it's like, oh, Carmelo Anthony. Who cares about Carmelo Anthony? Moving along. Miami, Houston. Don't know how I got there. Miami, Houston. This is a CBS game. This is in Kansas City, Missouri, T-Mobile Center, home of the Illini's beautiful victory over Kansas State last season, and their loss to Cincinnati by 20. Anyway, give me Houston 67-66 in a thriller.
Give me Miami.
By the way, Miami had 20 offensive rebounds last night. Norchad Omer had 8. They out-rebounded the Hoosiers 48-31.
They fly at the basket.
So does Houston. This is going to be fun. Yeah. It's going to be probably the most athletic game of the tournament, I would say, is these two. Mm-hmm. Princeton and Creighton, 8 o'clock TBS from Louisville. It's going to be a fun game. However, I think Creighton's offense, a little bit too high caliber, a little bit of a different level. They can score in ways that Missouri can't score because they have a 7-footer. And they have a guard in Ryan Nimhard, who came back after a good freshman season, was hurt in the tournament last season, back healthy. They also brought back Trey Alexander, Arthur Kaluma. Baylor Shireman comes in. He's been a really solid scorer for them. So, I think Creighton runs away 84-70.
Yeah, I don't think this is – I think Princeton's runs over. Give me Creighton by 22.
A little disrespectful of your guys there, but that's all right. I'll show them the proper respect. Xavier and Texas to cap it off Friday night, 7:45 p.m. Central, 8:45 p.m. Central, my bad. CBS, Kansas City. Sean Miller has Xavier back in the Sweet 16 for the first time since, 2017 with Chris Mack, maybe, somewhere around there. I'm not even going to look that up. I don't really care. And then Rodney Terry, the interim coach at Texas, has them in the Sweet 16. And Texas kind of going against the too hot factor. They won the Big 12 tournament, and here they are after beating up on Colgate, who usually gives teams a pretty good game in the tournament. They didn't really let them do that. But however, can you really say the too hot factor when Texas had lost 3 of 6 going into the Big 12 tournament before winning 3 in a row? I mean, I don't know if we can really say that, to be fair. But it should be a very fun game. I think this is a game of guards is how I describe it, because you have Sule Boom, Colby Jones on one side with a guy like Adam Kunkel who can make shots, started 5 for 5 from 3 yesterday against Pitt. You have Tyrese Hunter, Marcus Carr on the Texas side. Then you have a guy like Sir'Jabari Rice, who is the best 6th man in the country. Guard is going to be a big factor. Another big factor is Jack Nungy, the big man for Xavier. and who is guarding him on Texas's side? Is it going to be Disu? Is it going to be Mitchell? Very curious to see how they handle Nunji, who was a big impact in their game yesterday, because Disu usually kind of plays the 5 for them. He's 6'9". We'll see if he can handle Nunji. Disu coming off a game where he had 28 points, 10 boards. I think rebounding will be a big factor. Texas has one of the best defenses in the country, and Xavier has one of the best offenses. It's 7 versus 10, Xavier's offense versus Texas's defense. Excuse me, don't know what that was. 67-61, Texas wins this game, and we'll have an all-state Elite Eight in the Midwest with Houston.
Yeah, I like Texas in this one, so I'm gonna take Texas. Been hot on Xavier, but I'll take Texas this one. So.
Watchability index here, real quick, off the top of my head. Watchability ranking for Thursday and Friday. We're already past an hour, so I'm not just doing this full time. It's something that came into my head. Thursday's best game is Gonzaga UCLA. I need a darker pen. Hang on. So I'll grab a blue one, which is barely darker. Okay. That's the best game to watch on Thursday. The second best game, I'm going to say Arkansas, UConn. Third, I'll say Michigan State, Kansas State. And I don't even know if I want to watch FAU, Tennessee. That's going to be ugly in terms of that's the way Tennessee plays. On Friday, number 1 for me is Miami, Houston. 2 is Xavier, Texas. 3 is SDSU, Alabama. 4 is Creighton, Princeton. Creighton.
Could be a shootout, Creighton, Princeton, though.
It could be. I mean, Creighton has scored a lot of points in the first 2 games. They might have the most points of anybody in the first 2 games because they exposed Baylor's weak defense, scoring 85 in the first game. They scored 72 against NC State. So, one thing I noticed is like
Gonzaga 82-84.
Okay, yeah. Well, other than that, Gonzaga cheated though. I have it on good authority. So let's just think about this. The parity in this sport at this point is getting to a point where we don't even see 1 seeds completely embarrassed 16s like they always used to. Like you used to see, I used to remember getting home from school, looking at the screen, North Carolina like 110-61 against a 16 seed. That doesn't even come close to happening anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas and Alabama kind of did, but
not in the good old, not in the I mean 96-75, giving up 75 points. Come on. That didn't used to happen back in my day. 96-68, I guess that could be considered that, but like, come on. Let me just pull an example here. Let's go 2010. No, that's not a good one. Let's go 2010 Kansas.
My day.
2010. Okay, that's not a good one either. God damn it. 2010 Kentucky. Let's go there. Kentucky, that's not a good one either. 2010 Syracuse. Nope, that's not going to do it. All right, let's go 2009. Let's go 2009 North Carolina. Here we go. They beat Radford 101-58. That doesn't happen anymore.
There you go.
That's probably the score that I came home from school seeing, honestly.
That's the one that sticks in your mind.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. And I guess it's good for the sport, but then again, it's like, how many fraud coaches are going to win national championships because their teams got hot? Sure. We used to get the cream of the crop. I mean, I'm not asking for it. I just think that sometimes we need that, but that's all right. Whatever. I don't really care. But anyway.
On a side note, our initial off-the-cuff bracket that we did together still has all 4 Final Four teams.
That's why you don't think when you do a bracket. I'm going to guess Alabama.
Uh-huh.
Did I push hard enough for Michigan State?
You did not, no.
Damn it. So K-State? Gonzaga?
Yep.
And probably Houston or Texas.
Xavier, actually.
Mistake? Okay. They're going to go. That's why you don't think when you do a bracket, I guess, huh?
That's right.
Don't think.
That's my best bracket out of the 3 that we did on ESPN.
There you go. All right. We will be back. I want to do an Elite Eight preview before Saturday's games. I don't know when those games are going to be Saturday, but there's only going to be 2 games a day, so it won't be, 2 games a day, so it won't be. We'll have time.
Saturday,
so we'll try to do that, and then we'll also have playback. I'm sure you'll be able to join me at some point Thursday or Friday for some of those games.
I'll help on.
Tentatively, But yeah, I'll definitely be live for the first game both days, Thursday and Friday. Playback.tv. Let me just type it on a banner here so people can type it in easily because it's not like a long link like the ESPN Tournament Challenge banners, which are links that are about 480,000 characters. So there it is right there. You can join me there. Remember, World Baseball Classic. If you love baseball, you can go on there for that. Root on the US of A. And I don't know what I'm going to be doing on playback when college basketball season's over. Probably just sitting there falling asleep during baseball games and NBA games, if I had to guess. Maybe some NHL playoffs. Who knows? I know puck. I know ball. It's one of those things. All right, Elite Eight preview and Sweet 16 recap will be coming your way later this week. We'll see you on playback Thursday. And Illini Basketball Podcast, stay tuned. We'll see. We're gonna do an episode talking about season awards, which is gonna be hard to hand out awards for this team. And I think we'll probably dive into the portal a little bit too during that episode. So that'll do it for us, and we will see you